Hello and welcome to the Photo Brigade podcast. I'm Robert Kaplan. Today, I have Cassi Alexandra with me. How you doing, Cassi?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You're gonna have to speak up now. Remember,
All right.
you're so quiet. Anyhow, we're here at Adorama. We've had a little break here. I've been out of the country, traveling around, doing all sorts of stuff, and we've had about a month off. But you're first guest back, and I'm really thrilled to have you. But before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to our partners, Canon Professional Services, Adorama, of course, their event space for allowing us to do our events here, and then also Temba Bags for your generous support of what we do here. So with no further ado, back to Cassi. So where did we meet? We met for the first time, I think you were editing my work and a couple other people's work at the International Emmy Awards.
Yes.
That's right, yeah?
3 years ago?
Three or 4 years ago.
4
I don't
years
know.
ago.
It might have been 4 years ago. We're getting old, you know. It's
Stop it. We're not getting old.
So so what's interesting about you? So to back up a little bit, you are an independent photographer, and you focus mainly on projects.
Correct.
Right? And how
Yes.
long have you been here in New York City?
I've been in New York for 5 years.
5 years now.
Yep.
And you came directly. What were you doing before New York City?
Before I was in New York, I was in Michigan for almost a year, working for the Flint Journal and an internship.
At an internship at the Flint Journal.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So with Flint, is all in the news these days. You didn't drink the water, did you?
I did.
Oh no! So is that hits home a little bit for you, seeing all this in the news?
Michigan was it was the first time I'd seen snow. It was my first northern experience.
Really?
Yeah.
So where are
I
you
was
originally from?
Born and raised in Florida.
Oh, okay. Florida
so
girl.
I had never experienced winter before.
Oh, wow.
So I have a little soft spot for Flint because
Oh.
it took care of me.
It took care of you for life, you know.
Yeah.
Like you don't want any more of it. Well, very cool. And let's backtrack a little bit. How did you get into photography? What was your process of getting into this fine field of photography, photojournalism?
Well, I did a high school dual enrollment where I did college classes when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to be a teacher, and then I took an elective,
Oh, okay.
photography, and then next thing I knew, I was in photography school.
Oh, really? Where did you go? While we're going through your background, I'm going to go through some of your photos so folks
Great.
can get an idea of what you do. We'll go back over those again in more detail a little bit later. So yeah, tell me a little bit about schooling and all that.
I went to school in Daytona Beach, Florida,
Yeah.
Southeast Museum of Photographic Studies. There's a joint program there with UCF, so I got a bachelor's.
Oh, okay.
And then my first internship was with Orlando Sentinel.
Oh, okay. Really cool. And so do you feel that the internships were like pivotal
yeah.
pivotal to your career?
Yes. Well, my program was not focused on photojournalism. It was a rounded program. So my internship at the Orlando Sentinel has really helped me pinpoint what I wanted to do, which direction I wanted to go in.
Oh.
And then I kind of just went from there.
Did you learn a lot from the other shooters at the Sentinel?
Of course. I spent a lot of time shadowing and spending time with the editors. I'm actually still really close to both my editors and Tom Burton and Achille.
Cool.
So I still go to them for things, it's been 10 years.
What would you say is I also did, I think I did 3 or 4 internships, so I know the internship circuit. What was the most important thing or to your career do you think that you got out of internships? Was it technical skills? Was it people skills? What do you think?
No, I think it was just shooting every day. I think when you're in college, you get really wrapped up in, all the schoolwork that you have to do.
Right.
And you don't get to shoot every day necessarily because you're trying to pass all your classes. But
Yeah.
once you are in an internship or a full-time job, it really forces you to, think in that manner every day, all day.
Right.
And it really pushes you visually forward.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to hear a little bit more about this schooling. You had this interesting it wasn't just straight photography.
Well, it was straight photography, but I learned commercial, I learned fine art, I learned journalism, documentary. We had classes in every form of photography, not just where most people go to photojournalism school. Or,
Right.
It
wasn't so specialized.
Yeah.
So and so you're of the age when it was all digital. It started out all digital, right?
Well, I started out with film, actually.
Oh, did you?
My first year and a half, 2 years of schooling was film.
Really?
Black and white, dark
kidding.
room.
That's
I
awesome.
even did color, actually. My school was It's probably one of the only 2 schools in the country that had color printing.
I've never done color printing in my life.
It's a lot of fun. They don't have it
isn't
anymore
like you put it
now.
in a drum and there's a whole process.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It's, because I did color printing, I feel like I understand Photoshop a lot better when it comes to really understanding colors and what's missing or what I need to add and
a little
stuff
more
like
cyan,
that.
a little more magenta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. It's funny. I remember it during my internship working with those folks that really got into it, and I never saw it. And then looking back at my old photos and seeing like, oh man, those are so off compared to now. I can pick out, for the most part, probably not as well as you, those different aspects of color. But that's really interesting. So before you were in college, were you? When did you first pick up a camera, for instance?
I think I got my first. Well, I guess I always had a camera when I was a kid growing up.
Were you known as that person, that kid in school?
Yeah, I suppose so. I just always had a camera. I was always fooling around. My mom was always yelling at me for wasting film. I just always had a camera with me of some sort. Either there'd be chapters where I'd be really intense about it, and chapters I wasn't so intense about it. I'd draw or whatever.
Right. Very cool. So let's fast forward a little bit. We then, after I was shooting the international Emmys. We were the house crew, right? Yes. We then, the next year, I think it was, or maybe 2 years after that, we saw each other at the Eddie Adams workshop.
Correct.
I think that was the next time I saw you.
Yes.
And at that point, you had a different hair color.
Yes,
I believe.
I did.
Because you changed the hair color, or no, I don't know.
Yeah, my hair used to change quite often.
Now we're
settled.
With blonde.
We're a little
okay.
settled now.
Got it. Workshops. Workshops are also, I feel, really important in one's career, right? How many workshops did you do? Was that the only one? And how did it work? How did that influence you? We can actually go to your website for some of that.
Eddie Adams was huge for me. I had spent the previous 4 years editing, pretty much primarily. So Eddie Adams was kind of my jump back into shooting.
I'm going to show a few photos from Eddie Adams. This was a project.
Yeah, this is what I shot during
we should
Eddie
also
Adams.
back up and just say that Eddie Adams is a workshop in upstate New York. I mean, almost everyone knows about what Eddie Adams is, but photography, photojournalism workshop, upstate New York. We send out 100 students out into the field to photograph this, that, and the other. So this is a series you did on, talk about it.
So this was a farm in upstate New York. It was all natural. They do everything by hand. No machinery, no pesticides, no till farming. And this, she actually runs it pretty much on her own. And her husband still has a full-time job that supports it pretty much. And, they sell vegetables on the side of the, street. And they actually both met on a farm that they were interning on.
See, internships.
Yes.
You never know what it's going to lead to, right?
In every form. This farm, actually, those are 3 interns. They live on the land. They do 6-month stints. They get fed, and that's kind of part of the deal. And they learn the internship is all about learning how to farm themselves and being able to possibly start their own farm one day.
Oh, cool. So this was actually a really nice assignment. It seems like you got some really great images. And that's another thing about this workshop is that you don't just come, and although a big part of it is coming and learning and watching presentations by amazing photographers, but you also get out into the field and can make a portfolio-worthy piece of... For
me, this was the best part of Eddie Adams, going out and shooting and then coming back, and they don't let you delete any frames, which is hard for some photographers, and you have an editor that looks through every frame. And even at that point, I was 28, 29, at that point I had not had an editor look through my entire take.
Isn't that something?
Isn't
that intimidating?
Yeah, but it was Elizabeth Chris was my editor, so I mean, she taught me more than I could have ever. She's amazing.
Well, you ended up really covering this. And so it was a two days you were with this group?
Yeah, it's about, I think, 3 hours the first day and about 5 the second. So it was under 8 hours you spend with your people. And you have to have a full story under that.
Yeah.
In that 8 hours.
And was it hard for you to sort of build that rapport with this group of people?
Yeah, I mean, I think any situation you go into at first, there's trust issues. And so I think the first day I mostly just spent gaining their trust and hanging out and talking. I took a lot more photos the second day because on the second day I had more access to do what I wanted versus the second day was more just letting us get to know each other and learning about the farm.
Right. So clearly we've gone through your photos, and you're a very skilled photographer, story-driven photographer. But let's sort of back up and sort of figure out how we got to that point, because you're also an editor. Like I said, you edited for the Emmys. And what's your editing experience? How'd you get into that?
Editing actually kind of just fell in my lap. When I came to New York, I grew up in kind of small towns, so, and, I didn't go to a photojournalism school, like I said, so the education was a little bit different, so I didn't fully understand how the industry worked at that point.
Right.
And when I came to New York, I started editing, and
what sort of clients? What kind of, you were a freelance editor?
Freelance editor mostly. I did work for New York Daily News for about a year and a half, full-time as staff. But most of my work has been with Getty Images.
Okay.
I've been working for them mostly for the last 4 years. And then I work independently with other photographers depending on what they need. Everything to stories to doing what I call speed editing.
Right. Speed editing,
Speed editing, which is like the Emmys. Emmys is
right.
kind of what I call speed editing.
Right. Big events.
You're on serious deadline and
Pushing out.
You're just trying to push it all out.
Right.
And also make it look good at the same time.
I know from my experience just editing my own work, and I've also found that editing other people's work is much easier than editing my own work. Do you find that to be the same?
Oh, of course. I definitely have way more stress involved in editing my own things than editing other people's. Because you don't have that personal attachment to what you went through to get that frame.
Yeah. And your passion, does it lie more in one or the other? I would imagine photography more than editing.
Yes.
Easy answer. Yes. So I want to go through some of these projects a little bit more in detail here. You've sent me along a couple projects, and we'll also hit up your website for a few more. But let's dive into this first one here,
Sure.
Healers, right?
Yes.
All right. So tell me a little bit about it.
So this is something I started actually directly after Eddie Adams. I started this because growing up in Florida, I was around healers and psychics, and
really?
I always found it a very normal culture.
Huh.
There's members that I knew that, were my family in all sense of the word. And I realized one day that people think it's weird, and they have this idea of it as it being very dark and kind of this scary place of the way people function. And, for me, my experience with it has always been, a very light, bright, people, very kind and loving and, not pushy, very, giving in every way. And so I wanted to show that. I wanted to show this culture that I kind of had fallen in love with, and show them in a way where I actually saw them versus the way people have this idea of them.
Did these healers, clearly you're following different types of healers around. Did you have a relationship with these healers to start with? Or
one of them, I started out with one healer that I knew in New York, and she introduced me to everyone she knew. It kind of started out with one person, and it spider-webbed out where it helped me, and I would show them the first image, and then it would kind of get me other people.
Right. Did you have in mind what you were going to do with these? Have these been published in any particular way?
Yeah, these the Wall Street Journal published these in May of 2015.
Oh, cool. So did you went out and started the project and then pitched it, or?
Yes, correct.
And that seems to be the way that most publications do it these days. They don't like to.
Well, that's how I've done all my stories at this point. It's something I kind of start on my own, and then when I get to a point where I feel like, it could be almost done, I start looking around and start talking to editors about it, and start getting their opinions and what they think and direction.
Have you ever found yourself in sort of an awkward position photographing this type of work? This type of subject. Obviously, maybe the healer's patients, I don't know if that's the right word, subjects might feel weird having you be around and documenting this.
A lot of this was portraits, so that's how I got away with a lot of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times healers will not let you around their patients because it's just like any doctor, they're divulging information to this person that you don't want the world to know, obviously. Sure. But no, I think there's situations I've been in where I've photographed people where I don't believe they're the real deal, and I don't use that.
Oh, yeah?
You know, I think it's just
So
a
you have a
feeling
sense
you have.
for-
I mean, I think when you meet people, there's an energy there, and it's either good or it's bad. And sometimes if it doesn't click with you, then, you know, you have a bad feeling about it and you move on.
Yeah.
I think it's with any situation when you're like us and you go into as much time as you spend in people's homes.
So you mentioned portraits and photojournalism, and you've got some really beautiful portraits here. And most of them, I was noticing, it seemed like they were natural light. Mm-hmm. This one, I'm not sure.
Natural light.
This one's natural. Okay, so it's coming in from a window or an opening of the thing. So do you always shoot natural light? Or do you
primarily I use natural light. Every once in a while, I'll stick something in there if I need it. But I've always been really good at finding, that bit of light to make it work.
Right.
You kind of just go into a situation and,
That's what makes the photographer, is finding that light. And,
Yeah.
in my opinion, you don't need artificial light. Even in the worst lighting conditions, I feel like you can find a way to make it work.
Yeah, you just have to figure out the surroundings and if you know your camera well enough, you can make it look good.
Right. That was great. So I'm assuming this is a new project here, or is this the same?
Yes, new project.
Doesn't look like a healer to me. But you could be. No offense. So let's move on to this story. Tell me about Tiger Lady.
So I started in Iowa this year for the political season. I decided I originally was just going to do Iowa, and then I continued, but I started out doing a portrait series with voters. I really wanted all my work I try and incorporate with healing and try and find a way to incorporate that in my work, because it's a really important theme for me.
Uh-huh.
So I started out.
This is a great portrait, by the way. It's just something very striking about this
That's
one.
in Florida, of course.
Of course.
But I started out, wanting to understand the voters, and I feel, and figure out what they wanted, and because I feel like we pay so much attention to the candidates and what they're saying and what they believe.
Right.
And we spend a lot of time even with voters that go to rallies, those types of voters. But it was really important to me when I was doing this project to really find the everyday person.
Yeah.
The person that isn't going out there and screaming at anyone, but, really concerned about our future and doesn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And which direction to go in. So, there was a series of questions I asked about, what people thought about our future and what they wanted, and if they thought we needed a healing, and that was a huge aspect of it.
Cool. And was this did this end up getting published as well?
Yeah. So each state I would try and get something published, and I did 5 states.
So you were on the campaign trail for 5 states.
Yeah.
Starting in Iowa.
Starting in Iowa, and then New Hampshire, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida.
And this was the first time you've ever shot politics?
I shot politics in college. I used to freelance for the New York Times when I was in college still.
Okay.
So I did politics in a sense where I'd go to political events,
Right,
but
rallies
they
and
weren't
such,
rallies
yeah. Oh, not
necessarily.
rallies, yeah.
It was more like one-on-one talking and, smaller things like that. So the rallies and actually physically going on the campaign trail is a completely different beast.
Yeah, and were you on assignment? Well, we'll actually get to some of your campaign work after this, but were you on assignment, or were you just doing sort of the freelance thing,
No,
like many people do?
Yeah, no, I sent myself to Iowa and every state after. I got hired for my entire time in New Hampshire, but I just kept going. The portrait project was really important to me, and I wanted to continue it, so I kept going and kind of get picked up as I went kind of thing. I would, of course, tell all my clients where I was going and, work as I went and also do portraits between jobs.
What I find really neat about your portrait series, it seems like you really connect with these subjects in a really sort of deep way. They seem to,
Well, I try and spend at least an hour or 2 with them. I think that's really important when you're going into someone's home and you're asking them to give a part of themselves to you. And, that's what it is when you're sitting down and taking someone's portrait. It's not fun to be on that side of the camera. And,
certainly isn't.
And I completely understand that because I hate getting my photo taken. But so I, it was really important to me to sit down and really spend time with them and understand what their fears are, because that is what it is. They are scared of our future.
Reminds me of, I remember when I was in school at Ohio, one of my professors, the first thing he did, it was a story class. And the first thing he did is he went up with, he had like a big, one of the larger cameras, like a 1D or D1 or whatever they are, and a wide angle lens, and just got right in our face and just went motor drove. Right, just
so uncomfortable.
Just to show you how awful it is and how uncomfortable it is to be the person across from you.
Yeah.
And that always kind of stuck in my mind, every time that I go on a shoot, you just got to put things down and connect with that person.
Yeah, there's I can't remember who told me this, and it was a story somewhere, but an editor once told me that he'd rather be sitting at the dinner table than the fly on the wall. So I've always kind of taken that to heart and, tried to really be involved versus trying to be...
I like that quote. That's nice.
Instead of disappearing, I try and, actually physically be involved.
Right. Very good, very good. So when you ended up... I've always wanted to ask, and I know that I have a few friends... Eric Thayer, Keith Bedford, and others that have gone on the campaign trail and, been freelance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't necessarily have an outlet that they're going to work for. They just got to make sure that they're known while they're out there.
Yeah.
Does it end up making financial sense after it's all done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
How savvy do you have to be in terms of making those connections and then selling your work for the right price and yada, yada?
I mean... The photojournalism community, especially on the campaign trail, is this really beautiful, open, loving thing. We're all there helping each other. There has been people on the campaign trail that have gone out of their way to help me, just when it comes to even pricing or where to go, or if I'm looking for something, they will help me find it, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a person or if it's a very type of event or an idea, whatever it is, they're very helpful.
Right.
And I think that's very different than a lot of different situations or places you can live. It's not always that supportive. And so the political trail is very different in that sense. Everyone's very giving. But you do have to send yourself on things. You do have to take that leap, especially in today's idea of photojournalism.
Right.
If you're not willing to take that leap and take that chance, then you won't be able to make the work that you want to make.
Right. So let's get a little bit into business as we look at some of your campaign trail stuff. I know we just talked about the campaign trail in business, but moving to New York City as a young photographer, I did it. Many people did it. I did it through an internship. I interned at the New York Times. A lot of people intern other places. How did you make it work? Did you, I'm a member of a Facebook group that currently people are asking, I'm trying to go freelance. What should I do? How should I do it? People are saying don't do it. People are saying I'm of the opinion the sooner you go freelance and start your business, that work then compounds and you get clients and so on.
Yeah, well, I've always been freelance when it comes to shooting, so I guess I've never known anything else. Right. And it's hard. I'm not gonna down how hard it is. I mean, my first 2 years in New York were pretty brutal, and they are for everyone. I think Getting used to New York takes some time, no matter where you're from.
Yeah.
It's definitely a difficult city, and I think the faster you get to know people around town and editors, the easier it gets.
Photo events? Do you go to photo events often?
Yeah, I go to photo events.
Ours,
yeah, of course. I go to photo events constantly. And I suppose that's how I've met everyone I know now in the industry, is going to these events and building a community around it, because when you're freelance, you're primarily by yourself, and it's really important to have other people that understand what you do. I mean, I have friends that I've known for 10 years that still have no idea what I do. It's not, it doesn't, our job and the way we function doesn't make sense to most of society.
Yeah. So what would you, if you were to give a tip to someone coming into the field? You've been doing it now for 5 years, mostly here, right? Or all here?
Yeah.
If you were to give a tip to somebody coming fresh out of college, what would it be?
Just follow your dreams. I mean, if you want it, go get it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't hesitate. Try not to think about the money aspect. If try and just go after it if you want it. Find a way to make it work. And we've all been really poor and made really difficult decisions to make it work. But I think if you really want it, then you're not going to hesitate. You're just going to find a way.
Just find a way. Well, that's good advice. So are you still doing editing as well? So
I do both.
You
You
do
know,
both.
because I'm a long-term, project photographer.
It's hard to, it's like and you've got to sort of self-fund them up front.
Exactly.
And so on.
There's a way, and I do adore editing, and I love the clients that I work for, and they've been good to me for, the past 5 years. So, it's something I do in the middle when I'm researching or whatever the phase is.
Right. I think we're looking through some of your travel work here, or this is, so, would your passion obviously in healing, but it seems like you do a lot of travel outside of New York based off of what we're looking at.
Of course.
Do you love? I mean, is that one of the things that you love to do? Travel.
Oh, of course.
And
you pick stories you love and you find a way. No matter where I go, I always find a way for pleasure and work in the same time.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like I know photographers, and I've had mentors that have been all around the world, and in their generation they didn't get to see it. They went in for work and left. And it was always really important to me to find some time to also see the place that I was working in.
Right.
To really experience it instead of just being there to hop in, take some photos, and leave.
What about, I'm, as a freelancer, and some of the things that I've said in the past are, in order to fund the things that I love doing, which is traveling the world and seeing new cultures and so on and so forth, sometimes you have to do things that you don't necessarily love doing, which for me, I mean, I don't regularly do them, but sometimes I'll do a wedding. I don't mind doing a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah or whatever. But, those sort of things pay the bills. Do you still do that sort of, you're a project shooter, right?
Yeah.
Do you still do some of the work outside of projects, or do you really stick straight up to?
I think I consider myself in the art world, and I think that's going to be part of my career no matter what. I mean, I still assist and edit, and, to me, that's not the hard choice. I love doing these things, and, for someone like me, I like the diversity of, I get ideas from editing and assisting just as much as I do from actually shooting a project.
Right.
So I think they're all very important aspects of, how I've become the photographer I am and continue to evolve me as a photographer.
And you do different formats, I see.
Yeah, Polaroid is definitely something I've shot since I was a teenager.
Did you shoot it with like a regular land camera type deal?
Yeah, I mean, just the one from Walmart.
yeah, totally. I remember doing a portrait series once with one of those. Like, why not? Let's do it.
And so now I have a Fujifilm that I really adore, and I shoot projects on it, and I have actually done stuff politically with it. So it goes everywhere. It's one of my essentials in my bag still.
Do you find when you're shooting people with this, you kind of get a different reaction?
Oh, definitely. People are like, "What are you carrying around?
What are you doing?" I actually brought the Fuji Instax or whatever it's called to India and Nepal. And
I bet they were.
They never. Well, not never, but most of the people that I photographed were just like, "Oh my gosh, what sort of sorcery is this?" And was able to give what I did is had my digital camera and was shooting digital photos, but also then gave them that copy, took a cell phone photo of it.
It's a great way to befriend someone as well. You take one of those and you give them one, you've gained trust.
Right.
And that's something I've used it for in the past as well.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned the art world. You feel you're an artist and
straddling,
always will.
Yes.
Right. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you exhibit?
No, not yet. One day.
So, I mean, that's one of your goals is to exhibit.
Of course.
Has there been a reason why that you haven't exhibited yet or anything?
I just don't know if I'm not in that point of my career yet.
Yeah.
I think eventually it will happen.
It's a hard thing because exhibiting is a whole nother beast when it comes to making a living out of it as well.
Exactly, and it's not a part of the photojournalism path or career. That's not something typically people in the mid-range career, think about. That's usually later career type of work. But, it's something I would like to do together.
Right.
Be in the art world and photojournalism.
Right. Gotcha. Well, very cool. What's next? I mean, do you have any current projects you're working on that we haven't really looked at here?
Yeah, actually, I'm very deep in pitches right now for,
Really?
the coming, political.
Meaning you shot? Oh, okay.
No. Pitches, that you put out there and tell editors, this is the story I want to do. How do you feel about this?
And when you do that, do you usually gauge them like, oh yeah, that would be a great story. We're not going to pay you up front, but go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, when they don't pay you up front, it's called spec. And, it's a choice if that's what you want to do or not. It's harder, obviously. Because
spec is a dirty word.
Yes, it is.
We did an article on that one like a couple of years back, and there was the title, Spec is a dirty word.
Yeah. It's very, you're putting out all your own funds beforehand, and if they do pick it up, they're not going to be paying your expenses. They're only going to be paying for the photos. So it just, it's a personal opinion on if you're capable of doing that or not. There's been points in my career where I can do that, and there's been points in my career where it's just not an option. So, obviously we'd always rather be sent.
Oh, absolutely. Well, awesome. So, man, I don't know if I've missed anything per se that you want to talk about in terms of your work, but, I really appreciate you coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And talking about your career, which is a different, what I love about my guests is everyone has a different path, and clearly you had a different one, and we all sort of find a new way, and we meet in different ways, and I'm fortunate to have met you and been able to work with you even before we saw each other at Eddie Adams. So.
Thanks.
So anyways, Cassi, thank you so much.
Thanks for
I really
having
appreciate it, and again, please thank you to Adorama, their event space, for giving us the opportunity to record here. Thanks again to Canon Professional Services and Temba Bags. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page where we have this podcast, all our other live events, and that's at photobrigade.com/live. You can hit the subscribe button. That's it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks, Cassi.
Thank you. Bye.